Welcome everybody to the Hope Revelation Project. The Hope Revelation Project is something that came out of this series that we're getting ready to start today. Myself, as a former addict that's in recovery right now, one thing that I realize is that there's very little information out there for the person struggling with addiction, for the family struggling with a loved one in addiction, and even for the people that are in recovery that can't get to a meeting, but they want to search out things about recovery, and that's what this is. This is just to let everyone out there struggling with, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's addiction, mental health, whatever the problem might be with you, there's hope. There's always going to be hope for whatever you're going through. And that is my biggest reason that I'm doing the Hope and Recovery series, is to show everyone out there that there's hope. And I have a lot of great people that are very willing to help out with this, and that are very willing to come on here and talk to me. And the reason they're willing is for you. They're willing because they want to give you that hope. They want to show you that, they've been where you are right now, and there is a way to get through it. And that's why they want to be a part of this, is to see our world change for a better place through the realization in each and every one of us that recovery happens, that hope isn't false, that you can reach out your hand and someone will be there to pull you up. And that's why they're here. So what I'm doing in this series is I'm going to have a lot of people on here, a lot of great people that'll come here and talk to me on this show. I'm going to have a set of questions, and these questions I'm going to ask to every single person that comes on here. For the Hope and Recovery series, all of them are going to be in recovery, and then I'll split off down the road and do some different types of interviews. But for this one, I'm asking the same questions to all of them because I want you who are there watching this to be able to ask yourself these same questions and answer them to yourself. And if you feel like it, comment to us about it and let us know, problems that you have with it or things that it helped you out with. But I'm asking the same questions so that you can go through and figure out that, you're not going to have the same answer that I do in my recovery. You're not going to have the same answer that my buddy Chuck does, or that anyone else on here does. We're all going to have different answers, but you'll see that they're all kind of in the same circle. And that's why I want to stick to the same questions for each and every person that comes on here. And I just pray that this is something that you do get something out of. You listen to the wisdom that we're going to get here. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to my buddy Chuck. He has been someone that has been very inspirational in my life, not only through the recovery process, but through his faith and teaching me how to deal with some issues that I have in ways that I haven't thought about, but also just as a friend, to be there to talk to me. I get to see him at the gym a lot. I get to see him whenever I can make meetings. I get to see him there, and I'm just very thankful that he agreed to come on here. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have Chuck. If you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. I'm a Kokomoan, born and raised, lived in Kokomo most all of my life, and grew up here, still growing up. I hear a lot of people say they were raised in the church. I'm still being raised in the church. And I'm very thankful and very hopeful for this new project that Adam, my friend, is starting. I'm excited for it. When he first told me about it, I was excited. I just felt, wow, what a blessing for me to be able to get to come on and share with folks that are tuning in. So thank you for the blessing of allowing me. I have 5, almost 6 grandchildren, a 6th one being born April 15th, and excited about that. My wife and I have been married for 44 years. She's been with me throughout the whole journey and continues to be with me. But most importantly, I'm a man of God. I have faith in my Lord, my Savior. I am dependent. Not only do I need, but I want God in my life. I want Christ in my life. And the Holy Spirit is with me and helps me every day, and I'm just so thankful to be able to share today with whatever God gives me to share. So,
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction of yourself, and it is a pleasure to have you on here. It really is, Chuck. I mean, you have meant so much to me in my recovery, and just ever since I've met you, you've been a big inspiration, and you've also you've showed me that there is hope in times where I felt hopeless, and so this is very special, and that you would agree to come on here, and I know you're going to help so many people out there with this. So without further ado, we're going to get started on these questions. And for you at home, I'm going to pop these questions up there. So if you want to write them down so that you can continue to go over them, great. That would be something that could really help you in your recovery. If you're still out there in active addiction, think about these still, because these apply to anybody and everybody out there. So Chuck, the first question, describe addiction in your own words.
In a broad sense of addiction, for me, addiction would be anything that becomes a compulsive, almost obsessive type of thinking, behavior, acting out the thinking. And gosh, you can get addicted to probably just about anything on the planet. But there's positive addictions, I guess, and there's negative addictions. A positive addiction for me would be, an example would be getting up every day and praying and reading devotionals. And I do the same thing in the evening, reading the Bible, praying for particular people I've said I'd pray for. I'm addicted to that. That's an important part of my life. The negative side would be where it creates a negative consequence, and trying to stop but not being able to, and just continuing to abuse ourselves, body, mind, and spirit, with an addiction such as alcohol and drugs. And it could be negative thinking, which is a bad thing too, but it's about functionality, being able to function, and not getting into the negative addictions, so that you can be the person that God, I'll speak for myself, the person that God wants me to be and the plan He has for me. I want to be addicted and dependent upon God, and not on negative addictions that can take me down and spiral me out of control, and life becomes unmanageable. That's, to me, when it's an addiction, is when your life becomes unmanageable. You have no control over what's going on in your life, and it just keeps, I call it circling the drain. It only gets worse.
That's the truth.
It never gets better in terms of addictions that hurt or harm us or our families and our friends, our loved ones, and people that see us, man. There's a ripple effect and it breaks our relationship with God, because He doesn't want that for us. He wants us to be able to function the way He planned and created us to be who we are, our authentic, true selves. So that was a long answer, but
No, that was great. And I love two things that you hit on there, that you can be addicted to almost anything. And that's what, some people, they have I'll call it a uneducated stigma that addiction is solely drugs and alcohol. There's so many other addictions out there that get swept under the rug because they're not drugs or alcohol, but they're still addictions. And I also love how you hit on the positive side, because yes, you can have addictions to positive things. And there's not one bad thing you can say about waking up every morning and praying to God. There's zero bad that can come out of that.
That's right.
Zero bad.
That's awesome.
All right, Chuck, tell me, how did your addiction start for you? What did that look like?
In terms of substance abuse, it's interesting, because when I tell my story, I always start with the first, it wasn't I guess it could be considered a narcotic, nicotine. And a lot of people don't think of nicotine as a drug of choice, but that was one of the toughest addictions for me to give up. And it was the first one that I tried. When I was 12 years old, man, I'm living in Gateway Gardens, and a buddy of mine's mother smoked, and he stole a couple of cigarettes and said, "Hey, let's try these." So we went down one of these little basement cubby holes, got some matches, and started puffing a cigarette. I coughed, I gagged, I felt nausea, I felt sick, but I got a little bit of a rush, a head rush, if you know what I mean. Just a little bit of a high, like, it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That was my first experience with a true high from a drug, nicotine. And I do consider nicotine and caffeine both drugs that can become unmanageable and create problems for us. But so at age 14, I advanced to drinking, and I knew I was in trouble because two of my buddies, we're 14, 15, ninth grade, so right at that age, and they had invited me. They knew a guy that would buy us some alcohol, and we wanted to see what it was like to get drunk. 14 years old, we bought a half pint of Kessler's whiskey.
The good stuff, right?
Cheap, nasty, I mean, like gag you with a drink, and I had never experienced any alcohol at that. Well, I can't say never. I did. There's another story in that middle part where I was a paper boy and a guy invited me in to have a Boilermaker, and I thought maybe it was a sandwich or something. It was a alcohol mixed whiskey and beer. So I had experienced that, but that didn't make me want to drink some more. Not at that time. But we got these half pints of Kessler, and we were going to have a race and see who could chug it the fastest. Three of us in the basement of one of my buddies' homes that lived close to Gateway. So we had all these high plans. We're going to get drunk and call some girls over. His parents were at the lake. So yeah, that was incredible experience because I got sicker than a dog, and I thank God for that today, knowing what I know about alcohol poisoning and how young people die from having way too much alcohol in their system. And at 14, chugging a half pint of Kessler's is a very idiotic thing, a bad decision. We couldn't even get up the stairs. We were so wasted, and we're throwing up. I mean, it was awful. It was ugly, sicker than a dog. But you know what they say, you got a little bit of a buzz, next time you try something differently. And I thought I had this figured out. Never drink Kessler's again. It wasn't the alcohol, it was the Kessler's, just a bad choice.
Just the bad alcohol.
Yeah, that was the bad alcohol, nasty, cheap whiskey. Anyway, so I graduated to trying other things, and it wasn't as bad, but I still got sick. I mean, I still felt miserable the next day, because I had been introduced to God at a young age, and I knew I was doing something wrong, but I was rebelling against all that teaching that was the most important thing actually in my life still today, but I was rebelling against it, and by doing these disobedient things, drinking and drugging and smoking pot and smoking cigarettes and a lot of alcohol, just a lot of alcohol. So that was the beginning. There were some interesting bad decisions that led to me to getting out of control with all of that. By the age of 19, my life was out of control.
It was unmanageable completely, wasn't it?
Oh, I wanted to die. And the weird thing about it, I remember as a kid growing up, and I'm talking as early as I can remember thinking about stuff, I had somehow in my mind that I was going to die at age 19. And that's probably one of the closest times I ever come to dying, when I was 19. All the alcohol and drug substance abuse had come to a head at the age of 19. And my grandmother passed away. So it was like the perfect storm time. I just didn't deal. That's when my anxiety and depression kicked into panic attacks. And I had never had a death in my life, so that contributed to, I didn't know how to deal with that or who to talk to.
So you just hid from it, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I kept drinking and getting high and trying to numb it. The pain was so bad.
Let me ask you one thing. Did that work? Did that cover those feelings up? They were just gone, right?
Very temporary. It was all temporary. There was no permanent solution or help, and it was a negative way of not feeling, trying not to feel. So I didn't
Listen
know
to what
how-
he just said there.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I was in the home I grew up in. The rules were unwritten, but you knew it's don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. Those are rules that I grew up with, and I would try my best to live by those rules. Don't trust anybody. Don't talk to anybody about your private life, your family stuff, or your personal problems or your struggles. That's the exact opposite of who I am today. I've got to talk to people. I need to talk to people that are of like-mindedness. So that's why I love recovery too, is that I have people that are like-minded, that have felt what I've felt, been where I've been, done what I've done, and have hope now instead of hopelessness, because we've all been there. I think I said to you before we started, can you actually be fixed if you've never been broken?
Right.
So I've been broken, but now recovery is still working on me to fix me. That's a blessing.
That's awesome, and I really want you guys to pick up on what he said about, you know, his home life. You know, how he was taught not to talk about it, not to, well, what were the
Trust.
not to trust,
And not to feel.
and not to feel, and he just spoke to what that did to him. So if you're feeling like that right now, or if that's what's been beat into you all your years growing up and said to you over and over and over, realize that that's not the way. That's not the way to do it. So pick up on that, pick up on what he just said from that. Go back and listen to it again if you need to. And another great point, Chuck, that I love that you had there was nicotine. People don't think of that. I will tell you today that I am still addicted to nicotine. That is one thing that I am still addicted to, and I have been for over 20 years, however many years it's been. But one thing that people don't think of is, you know, they'll call like marijuana the gateway drug. For me, nicotine was the gateway drug, just like it was for you, because like what it meant to me, that first time I smoked a cigarette, I went against my values, my core beliefs. And so once you go against it once, the next time, you know, when alcohol came in front of me, and then marijuana, and then, you know, on and on, it just makes it easier.
Absolutely.
So if you just say no from the beginning, I'll tell you what, it's going to make your life a lot easier. And when those other things are offered to you, the other substances, the sex, the whatever it is, when that's offered to you, it's going to be a lot easier for you to say no, because you still are holding full of those core values. So take what he said there and know that he's a prime example of that. I'm a prime example of that. Nicotine is your gateway drug out there. So just, you know, take it for nothing if you want, but this is two guys right here that have lived it. So we just talked about, Chuck, how your addiction started. When did you realize that you had an addiction? When did you realize that what you were doing was an addiction?
That's a great question, because there's like levels for me. When you said that, immediately came to my mind age 19, when I was drinking and smoking, mostly just drinking and smoking marijuana at that time. And I'm at a Christian college, so I had to hide all that stuff, you know, because I would try to present as, you know, Mr. Nice Guy, and I don't do any of that stuff, but there was a double life, you know, because I'm out there smoking and drinking, but I wanted to be a Christian because I knew that was the right place to be. So I would, when I was with the Christians, I'd be a Christian. I could change colors pretty easy. And then when I'm with my brothers out there getting high, I'm one of them, you know, and I was talking differently, acting differently, behaving differently, and just so fake. And that's hard. That takes a lot of energy to try to cover up your stuff and to be who you're not and want to be somebody that you know you should be, but you're not. I mean, just a very confused time of my life. And at that point, I met my current wife. We've been married 44 years, and we were both 19. And she basically took me by the hand because I was very suicidal. I wanted to die at that point, and knowing that the problems that I had and just not dealing with it, I was depressed. I had my first panic attacks at that time, like I said, with my grandmother passing. And so I think it was a combination of all that. And she said, my wife, Becky, said to me, well, she was my girlfriend at that time, beginning girlfriend-boyfriend days when we were 19. So 50 years ago, man, tells you how, if you can do the math, that tells you how old I am. But that was 50 years ago, and it's like I can remember every bit of that. So that's a good thing, because I don't remember everything like that. But she literally said, we have to get you some help. So that was my first time, the breaking the rules of don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel were being challenged. So she challenged me. There's a school counselor, Mrs. Robertson, and that was the first time I went to any kind of counsel or talked to anybody about all my stuff that I had kept locked down at 19. And I mean, I remember crying so much I didn't think I could walk out of there, and I was just so broken and so ready to die and trying to figure out a way. I remember being obsessed with, I was on the 3rd floor of a dorm, and I would think, I'm just going to run as fast as I can and jump out that window. That should do it. And I thought, ooh, that doesn't. Then I'd battle that thought, you know, and is that really how I want to do it? I don't think I want to do it. That seems so violent and scary. Because I don't like heights. I didn't like heights then even. But got the help, and she was very kind. I don't think she, at that time, we were talking about 1971, 72, there wasn't a lot out there that I knew of, and most therapists at that time didn't know a lot about anxiety, depression, panic attacks, you know, anxiety disorders basically. And but she helped me in a lot of ways, just being able to open up, to talk, to feel safe. That was important, to feel safe that I can share this stuff and I'm not going to get beat up or pushed down. I was already down enough. I needed lifted up and encouraged. And it was a Christian college, so we prayed. And my wife actually took me to South Meridian Church in Anderson, and I got saved right around that 19 to 20-year-old time. So that was the first real eye-opening, knowing that I have not a problem, I have lots of problems, and using substances or abusing. I was abusing substances. I can never just use, I abused. I never believed in just taking a one hit or a one drink or a one beer or one glass of whatever. I had no off switch. And that, and it was funny because I was that way about everything. And I'm still have some of that, like working out. I work out every day. I missed one day this month. That's because it was closed due to snow. Yeah, that's the only day I missed. And when I ran, I used to run before I had 2 knee replacements. So see, I've had some addictions that appear to be positive, but can still be obsessive compulsive, is what I look at it as. I ran 3 years in a row without missing a day. Am I an addict? You tell me.
I would say 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I remember as a kid, you know, I was telling you we're on Social Security disability, and my mom would buy a gallon of milk, and it was supposed to last. And I would come in from playing basketball or being outside, and I loved milk. I'm a kid growing up, strong bones. I'd take that gallon jug and just chug it, and she'd catch me, and I mean, I would catch some, you know what. That's gotta last. So I was very limited on being able to have freedom to eat whatever I wanted as much as I wanted. We had to protect that for the rest of the month. 1 check a month, very limited income, you know, and I.
Trying to stretch that out.
Yeah, so it was. I mean, it was rough, but again, you know, I always try to think of there are people a lot worse off. But that's not to minimize, but to help me rationalize, I guess, or justify that this is what we have to do for now. But I'm going to get out of here someday, meaning get out of the projects and get out of this mess that I'm in.
One thing about what you're just saying right there is how you're saying your now wife Becky was there with you because you were so down you didn't need beaten down by anyone else. You needed lifted up, and I think that's something that's so important for all you listening out there that feel like you don't have someone. I guarantee you do. Go to a meeting, go to a recovery meeting somewhere. You will find someone that will lift you up because, I mean, that's what we need when we're in a situation where we feel like the whole world looks at us as garbage and we look at ourselves in the mirror and we think even less than that of ourselves. We got to have that person there that is willing to go beyond measure to just let us know that we are loved, we are cared for, and we do need that person to help pick us up. Absolutely. And because we beat ourselves down, the world beats everyone down enough that having that one person, and so, you know, I guarantee someone out there picked up on that. Surround yourself with positive people, because if you're in active addiction, recovery, whatever it is, you are who you surround yourself with. So you surround yourself with positivity, it's going to do what Chuck just said. It's going to help lift you up and pull you out of dark spaces when you need it.
The other side of that is that once we get it, and you said this early in your introduction, the reason you do what you do is because we can't keep it if we don't give it away.
Exactly.
So once you've got the understanding of what recovery is and you want to pass that on, you want to be a sponsor, you want to support people, you want to go to meetings and encourage and support, I mean, even in the church and the meetings in the church, you know, all that is to build others up, you know, and it helps us in return. I mean, we don't do it for that reason, but it's just an automatic part that we get what we put out. What we give comes back.
It's one of the few guaranteed win-win situations in life, because I mean, you're winning by helping them, but then, you know, like blessed to bless, you know, you're blessed to be able to still be alive to help them, and then, you know, you get blessed from it as well. So it's great.
Can't keep it if you don't give it away.
Exactly. So, you know, a lot of people will say rock bottom. That's something that I don't like that at all, because for me there is no rock bottom. There's always a door. There's a trap door down there, or I can always keep digging deeper. So something we were talking the other day. We went out to lunch, and this is something that Chuck uses. So I'm going to ask you this, Chuck. That what you said to me. When did you come to your senses?
Well, I think what I just shared was the beginning of that. It was the beginning at age 19, and my wife taking me by the hand, literally walking with me through the process of overcoming my obstacles and struggles at that time. So I had, at that point, I believe, you know, wanting to die and thinking of ways to do that, and almost becoming obsessed with dying. And I had always had that thought, you know, that at 19, I'm going to die. Why did I think that? I don't know, but there I was at 19, faced with it. It was like almost a premonition, or maybe I was setting myself up to get to that position. I don't know that for sure, but I know that I was there at age 19, having to have a person, one person, that's what I want to say. If one person believes in you, there's hope. One person, I mean, Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit are all, you know, the Trinity is very important, but sometimes we need Jesus with skin on.
Yes.
And my wife was that person for me, and was in the beginning stages of teaching me how to love, to care about another human being. Because up to that point, I had only used other people for my whatever, my fix, you know, literally. Relationships, I mean, it hurts my heart just to think about how I used and abused people to meet my needs, and the selfishness that's involved in addiction. You know, that's one of the hardest things to forgive ourselves for, that how we did that, and how we did things to other people and hurt and harm people that we thought, hey, it's my addiction, I'm not hurting anybody. Yes, you are. You hurt every person that loves you and cares about you. They see you going down that spiral and out of control, and it breaks hearts. It breaks people's hearts. My heart was broken at that time, like I said, beginning stage, but of hitting bottom and feeling so broken, I didn't see a way out, and I began to see a way. And I got saved, man, and I'm telling you, I had some period of sobriety, but I didn't go to meetings. I didn't have a big book. I didn't have a sponsor. I went to church, but I still had a lot of influence, a lot of things that were unresolved in my body, mind, and spirit. So I still struggled, and I would wax and wane in and out of anxiety, depression, and I couldn't understand. I'm living for God. Why am I still feeling this way? And, you know, thinking my ceiling, or my prayers are just hitting the ceiling and falling back down. Yeah, and I got to tell you, a big part of that too was not having a father, and believing in a father I can't see, and knowing that I have a biological father because I'm here on the planet, but never having a relationship, ever seeing him, and not having any kind of a connection with. I think it interrupted my ability to let God come into my life. You know, and I must say that a lot of people out there have issues with parents, and those parent issues transpire into our Father, God, and blocks us from being able to blocks me, and did block me. And finally coming to, how can a father who brought me, biological father, disown, disconnect, have nothing to do with me, and then I'm to trust a father I can't see or feel or understand? That was tough. But coming to a place of hitting bottom and having to look up to see down, is the way I used to say it. I had to look up just to see down, being that low. But I can tell you, there were other lows. That was the beginning. at the age of 29, I relapsed. I started drinking, and only took one time because I had a baby at that time. Our baby was two and a half. She doesn't remember, but I drank and got drunk that particular night, and we were at a conference for a work conference, and I chose to drink, and I even asked my wife's permission. I thought, it's been 5 years. I haven't.
Yeah, I'm good, right?
That's
It's been 5
exactly-
years.
Hear that? No, if you're an addict, you're an alcoholic, abuser, whatever you want to call it. If you are, you're not safe to take any narcotic drug. You're not safe to take any drink. I don't care if it's too near beer, whatever they used to call that, or O'Doul's. I stay away from it all. I know what it did to me, and that was at age 29, and I'm in a hotel, literally staying in a Ramada Inn in Nashville, Indiana. I could take you right to that room when I made that decision. I mean, the final decision to stop. I'm not doing this anymore. I was sick. I was in the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I just saw a piece of crap. That's where I was at, man. I mean, I literally got on my knees and prayed, and I saw through the mirror my baby girl, and I'm thinking, I don't want to do this to her, man, or my wife. And I really upset my wife in particular because of the condition I got into, drinking. And then I gave my daughter away on a dance floor. And she came, I had grabbed a couple of, remember the old red Solo cups, draft beer? Yeah, so that was my last time drinking. October 8, 1982 is an important date because it was the beginning of really understanding what I need to do is whatever it takes to stay clean and sober.
Listen to that. Listen to what he just said. That he remembers the date, he remembers everything about it, and he said it's a very important day because it is. And he mentioned earlier when we were talking that it's a rebirth, and I love how he said that. And because it truly is. It truly is our chance at a new life.
Absolutely.
A life of.
Keep going, yeah.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I've been clean and sober since October 8, 1982. No narcotics. I mean, I've had 2 knee replacements. I made it through, and I don't have a high tolerance to pain. I think I got a pretty good tolerance to pain, but I took Tylenol. That's all I took, and I got through it. And I'm a big wuss.
See, so it's possible.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that comes to my mind out of that too is that, hear what I said, I got clean and sober, okay? And I was in compliance with what I thought God wanted, my family wanted, I know my wife wanted. She grew up with an alcoholic father, so she had seen and experienced that. Might be part of the reason she saw me, the first time she met me, I was intoxicated, and she wanted to rescue me. So, being a codependent with an alcoholic father, she knew how her mom dealt with some of that stuff. So it's incredible how God brought us together, and then here we are 44 years in, and she's still my greatest support person on the planet, and loves me unconditionally and accepts me for who I am. But my point I want to make is that everything wasn't rainbows and what do they call those, unicorns and all that joy, and everything was great from that point on. Absolutely not. I had to work hard. I went to therapy. I continue when I need to. AA says get a checkup from the neck up. There's times I've had to go back where I've been revisited with anxiety and depression. And man, I was always one of those guys, and I got to say this, I was always a guy that said, you can do this if you try hard enough, if you pray enough, if you have enough faith, if you go to church, if you're involved in support groups, meetings, reading the big book, reading the Bible, devotionals, I mean, doing all the right things. And I still struggled with anxiety and depression. And finally, 5 years ago, I finally said to my physician I would be willing to take an antidepressant. Best thing I ever did, man.
Changed your life, hasn't it?
Absolutely. And again, I'm not saying that's the fix-all, do-all,
Oh,
but it helped me. It helped me get through that really rough time, that down, like having to look up to see down kind of thing, man. And I think some of it's genetic. I know because my mother and her family, a lot of them because they grew up with an alcoholic father, abusive, raging alcoholic. So they all struggle with anxiety disorders. I saw it in every one of my family members. You know, is it learned, you know, that nurture versus nature thing? I think it's a combination,
Yeah.
you know, because it's in the genetics and been passed on generational. But the key is to know that there's help for that, and it's okay. It is okay to not be okay. I saw that sign up out here, and it's so true. And it's okay to say, I need help. I need medication. I'm reaching out. What can I do? What can you tell me that I could do that'll help me feel better, rather than getting up every day and just existing? I've done that, man. That's a miserable state of life.
It's no fun, is it?
No, it's hard, man.
I'm so glad you brought that up about that, because you know, with the stigma like there is against, you know, addicts and alcoholics, I think there's even worse with the mental health, and people think it's a weakness. Listen to this man. It's not a weakness. It is a strength. Anytime you ask for help, that is a strength. So don't ever think you are weak. Don't listen to those people out there saying, "Oh, you're weak. You should be able to get over this by yourself." You know, even what Chuck said, he was praying. He was doing everything that he thought he could have. But sometimes we need that little extra help. So don't let what everyone out there is saying about mental health, you know, you're weak. Forget that. You aren't. You are strong. From someone else that struggles with mental health here, you know, I asked for help and I've gotten it. And has it helped me? Yes, it's helped me, because that's what happens when you ask for help, you get it. So don't be afraid to do that, please. And I love that you mentioned on that, you hit on that, Chuck, because I think that's so important for everybody out there, not just people that are struggling with what our common struggles, but everybody, because it's so prominent.
Absolutely. And you know, the other thing came to mind when you were talking is people of faith who want to be helpful and want to understand don't always understand if they've not been there. So they'll say, well, if you just had more faith. What? Like I'm weak because I don't have enough faith. And that's a lie too, I'm telling you. I had faith, and I'm telling you, I prayed the fervent prayers, and I tried to be a righteous man, and I still had these struggles. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And finally, you know, at retirement age, 65 years old, I was convinced medicine, God allows the medicine that is helpful to us. He helped create that. He gave people the ideas of how to do that. You know, I believe that that's part of my recovery now. I don't hope I have to be on them forever, but you know what? If I do, I do. I got high blood pressure. What if I didn't take my high blood pressure medicine? You talk about mental health, or you got cardiovascular heart problems and they tell you to take, or diabetes. I have 2 children that are insulin dependent. If they said I don't have enough faith, they wouldn't be alive today. Ah, I get fired up about that, man.
I'm glad.
Got me fired up.
I think that's how it should be, and not just with us. I mean, again, we have to educate, and I'm not mad at anyone for that stigma. I just want to educate. And you know that's what this is all about, is giving them information. So you know, if they want to judge, at least it is an informed judgment that they're making on us, not an uninformed judgment.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that.
So in a one-word answer, Chuck, what keeps you in recovery?
One word,
One-word answer.
God.
God.
It's God. When I turn my life, and I have to do it daily. Yeah, I made a decision to get baptized. I made a decision to get saved. I made a decision to go to church when the doors are open and to be involved in recovery, faith-based recovery meetings, and starting those 15 years ago. But if I don't go to God first, and if I don't depend on God and know that He is present, omnipresent with me wherever I am, whatever I do, whatever I say, whatever I think, my God is aware of all that. He's with me. God is with us. I mean, when Christ left, He said, the Holy Spirit will come and live within you and in your heart. And I depend on that. If I don't depend on that, if I become self-reliant, like I've been many times in my life, I start the downward spiral, man. I'm just circling the drain when I start cutting God out of the picture or not relying on Him and surrendering to Him. My devotional today said, if you want to find peace and comfort and to be at ease in whatever you're going through, surrender it totally to God. Surrender everything totally to God. Quit taking it. I'm a fixer. I take it back, I'll fix this, or I'll figure out why I'm doing this or that, or why this isn't working and that isn't working, and I'll research it, I'll Google it. I'm lost. That just takes me right back down, man. So I got to go to God every time. And one of my devotions just said, cry out, help me, Jesus. There's days where I do that, Adam.
Yeah.
I'll be, October 8th of this year, I'll have 40 years sobriety,
40
but I
years.
still ask Jesus, help me every day. And that's why that's my one word answer, because it's God. Without Him, I'd be gone, brother. I'm telling you. I mean that with all my heart.
And I'm right with you on that. And I mean, I don't think there's any coincidence that in AA, NA, CA, any of the other A's that are out there, what's the one thing, the one common thing? I mean, there's a lot of commonalities, but the first thing is a higher power, something greater than yourself, right?
Yep.
And all of them basically consider God as the higher power, and for me, God is my higher power too. But I think that's an important. I mean, obviously it's important if it's in NAA, all of them. It's very important to know that there is someone bigger than us, and we have to believe in that, or I don't think true recovery could ever come if we don't. I mean, it'd be very, very difficult, in my opinion anyways.
I think that without God, the best we can do is compliance.
Compliance.
Compliance versus real change, because God wants to change us from the inside out. And compliance wants us to look good from the outside and still have all the negative stuff on the inside. And compliance is about cognitions. And, I tell people, everybody told me I needed help. I mean, I had several people, you need help. But until I got to the place of I want help and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, I will do whatever you say, Miss Counselor. And she would say, well, you can take it home or you can start working on it here. And you said it, man. Any recovery without God is usually temporary. With God, it can be 40 plus, 60 plus, whatever you got. So yeah, it has to start with surrender to our Creator. I mean, He made us. He has a plan. Jeremiah 29:11 says, I know the plans. It's not just one plan, it's plural. Plans. Brother Jeff Harlow pointed that out to me. The plans. So there's different stages of plans, and things change, and the plans are there if you'll follow and be obedient. Go to God, listen to God.
And right there, I mean, it's just talking about hope. That just, for me, that fills me with hope. Just knowing that God is up there, and He knows me from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
And yeah, He's still here with me. Even though He knows me, He is still here with me.
He's
and
here.
I mean, that's hope. Yeah, He's everywhere.
I want to invite Him to come sit right next to me and put His arm around me.
Yes.
Because I know I go to Him all the time and lay my head in His lap when I'm having my rough times.
Can I tell you one of my greatest spiritual experiences? And I think you've been on the Great Banquet.
Yeah.
I went on in 1980s. I was in a prayer study group at Delco, where I was working at the time, GM, which later became Delphi, but it was GM when I hired in. And this prayer group met on Wednesdays, and there was a couple that invited me to an Emmaus walk, which is the same thing. It's a 72-hour weekend built on the same 15 talks. There were 5 spiritual directors and 10 lay people that gave talks throughout the weekend. And I had an experience where I had gone, and this is really unusual. I had a room to myself. They had run out of the dormitory beds, and they put me in one of the little cabins near the lake. And it was great. I had a room by myself, and I would go back to my room, and there'd be piles of letters, love letters from people from all over, including my children and my wife and my friends, and people I didn't know, which really messed me up because I was still at that point. I think I was 30. I was only in recovery about 3 years when I went, and I was still real raw about a lot of stuff, man. And I couldn't believe that anybody, God included, could love me, such a wretch as me. I was so bad, and I did so many bad things, and I felt such shame for all of that stuff. And that weekend, that 3-day weekend, changed my life. God made himself so real to me in many ways, but I'm going to tell you a true story, man. I'm in that room, and this was the third time I'm reading, and I'm just like, I cried out. I said, God, I can't take it anymore. I understand you love me, and these people love me. I don't know why or how they can. I'm such a wretched person, and I need help. And I felt an arm go around me in this room by myself, and I thought somebody had came in the door. I didn't lock the door. It was just kind of pushed closed, and I'm crying, and I feel the weight of an arm go around me like somebody putting their arm around me, sitting beside me. And when I looked around to see who it was, there was no physical body person in that room, but Jesus made himself real. I'm telling you, man, I said I was 3 years clean and sober. I wasn't high. I wasn't doing any hallucinogenics. I wasn't drunk. I was sober as could be, and God just made himself so real because he knew that's what I needed, evidently. And I've never forgotten that. And that's probably the first time I've been able to talk about it without crying, man. So
That's amazing. Experience like that, I mean, it's,
that was 30 years ago or more.
yeah. And I bet you can remember it like it was yesterday.
Absolutely. Oh, what a blessing. God first.
God first. All right. This one is, Chuck, is something that, like everything we've answered, or that I've asked you and you've answered, it is very important. But this one, I really want you guys to listen up to what I'm about to ask him. Chuck, I want you to talk to them. I want you to talk to the struggling addict that's out there, the one struggling in recovery. I want you to speak to them right now. What do you have to say to them?
Wow. I want to say to you, anybody that's listening, and if you share those with anybody and get them to listen, that there is hope. That hope today is alive, and you don't have to keep living the way that you are. That change is possible. It really is. And I feel like I'm an evangelist. I want you just to get on your knees and do what I did. Jesus, help me. God, help me. I don't want to continue to live this way. I need your help. Put people in my path. Give me a number to call, a person to talk to. Man, there are so many people out there that want to help. I think about the therapists that I've been to over the years and how I've told them all right to their face and my family physician, I just met with her probably 3 weeks ago, and I told her how much difference she made in my life, how much she helped me stay alive and to be alive and get through struggles, and that help is out there. All we got to do is quit hiding behind a mask. Take the mask off. This is real. This is who I am. I'm a mess. I'm broken. Confessing that just begins to lift that darkness. And we go from hopelessness to hope with God in our life, with allowing people into our life, with healing from the shame and the brokenness, being able to forgive and to be forgiven, to forgive ourselves. That's all taught through God to me, is that forgiveness is so important in my recovery and putting behind me what's behind me and going forward with God in my life. That's what I desire for you to do. And man, I don't know if I want to put my number out there, but get a hold of Adam if it's somebody I can help. If you're somebody that wants to talk to me, you can relate to my story. Can I advertise meetings? Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm going to have lots of information for them too.
Yeah, Monday and Wednesday night at South Creek Church, Parking 26. I am there. I will meet with anybody before the meeting, after the meeting, during the meeting, and offer assistance. That's what I did my whole life, is resource and referral. I've got resources. I can get you to people that can help you. Turning Point is one of the greatest things we've done in Kokomo to get people help too, and they're going to open up a treatment center, as I understand, soon, right here in Kokomo. So help is available. That's what I want to say. Help and hope is available to you. Don't keep doing what you're doing, because you'll keep getting what you got. Love you guys. Thank you, Adam.
So that is awesome, Chuck. And I mean, you just hit it on the head with that. And I mean, I don't think you could have been any more straight to the point of telling them, what they can do. And the biggest thing I feel is they need to know that there is someone there for them. They literally just have to reach out their hand, and there's someone that's going to grab that hand and pull. but us in addiction, there I definitely feel, and this will be the last question here, not even question, but there's a large group that gets missed out on. You and I, who are in active addiction, we get the attention when we're in recovery. We think of ourselves. Who we don't think of is all the collateral damage that we did, the people we did all that collateral damage to, our loved ones. Our wives, husbands, sons, daughters, all our family, friends. They kind of nobody asks them, well, okay, how are you doing with this? Because they have to recover too. We caused a lot of pain, carnage everywhere we went. So right now, Chuck, I would like you to speak to the loved ones of someone that's out there in active addiction, or the ones that just can't accept that their special someone, whoever that is in their life, their loved one is actually in recovery, and believe it, because I know I've relapsed many a times, and they might be dealing with that. But speak to the family members that are hurting out there right now.
Absolutely. So family members actually become part of recovery. They have their own recovery from the collateral damage. And I know one of the ways is through Al-Anon, going to meetings so you can better understand your addict or alcoholic, and learning how not to enable, to be helpful but not to enable, and not become codependent. And what that means to me is like doing for them what they can do for themselves. And yes, being supportive but not enabling. Enabling is what keeps addicts and alcoholics going. If everyone on the planet stopped enabling, that's the only way addictions is going to go away, because no addict or alcoholic can literally make it without an enabler. And that comes in many different forms, and we don't have time to talk about all that, but that's very important, to stop enabling, to do what you need to do. And Al-Anon calls it tough love. But another thing is to get help for yourself. Go to a therapist, talk to someone about what you're experiencing or the hurt that you've had. And the last thing I will say, probably the most important thing that I can say, and it's true for every person I've ever worked with, including myself, including Adam, we needed at least one person to continue to believe in us, even when we were unbelievable. Continue to believe that there's a chance, there's hope, and you've got a chance. As long as you have breath, you have hope. There's hope for change, there's hope for recovery. And that's true with all the carnage that was left behind us too. You can be in recovery along with your addict and alcoholic or your substance abuser, to get help for yourself. You can be of no value to another until you're first of value to yourself. So that's the motto or mantra I try to live by, is I can't help anybody until I've learned to help myself and to be healthy myself. You can't give away what you don't have.
That's strong. That's strong words there.
It's been fun.
Oh man, Chuck, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on and taking your time to answer these questions, but more importantly, to spread hope into these people out there. And that's what this is all about. And we've talked about it many a times, but that's why he came here. And I'll state it again like I did earlier. He came here because he cares about you out there, and to just go on top of what he said to the loved ones out there. I'm sorry for the pain you're going through, because I've seen firsthand the pain I've caused. I don't know, because I've always been the addict side of it, but I've seen it. And I'm in recovery with my family too, because that's a big part I kind of forgot about. I focused all on me and not so much on my wife, my children, my parents, my brothers, everyone else that I hurt in the wake of my last relapse. But what Chuck said is they need at least one person to still believe in them. Please don't give up that hope on them. If they've gone out again, or if you don't believe that they're really in recovery, that they've been in recovery 25 times, well, this could be that one time. I know it's hard for you. I know standing by watching your loved one hurt themselves or kill themselves slowly. I mean, I can't imagine, because again, I haven't been on your side, but please don't give up hope. You could be that one person that they just need to know. And you don't have to be readily available, but send them a text, whatever it is. Just let them know that they have one person that is still in their corner, because that's what we need. We need that one person. And for all you out there that have heard this, I pray that you just get one thing out of it. You know, something that Chuck said that sticks with you and just digs into that brain and really starts working. If you're still out there in active addiction, something that he said maybe will spur you into wanting to seek out recovery and whatever that looks like for you, whether it be treatment or whichever route you go. When he was talking about God, I hope that permeates with a lot of you, and you can realize that there is a better way. Even if you're in recovery and don't have your higher power, there's a better way to be in recovery, and a way that's going to help it be more permanent for you. So just grab onto something that he said, and know that tomorrow can be better than today. And all you have to do is be one step better tomorrow than you were today, and you're going to be a better person. So God bless y'all, and thank you for watching. And again, Chuck, thank you for being here.
Peace.